I didn't know I would ever fall in love with something like playing with food scraps. But if it weren't for Green City Forest, I'd probably still be doing odd jobs, still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Composting is so important. I mean, it's always been important, but not everybody knows about it. Composting is kind of a way to recycle food scraps and things that you would otherwise, look at as trash, especially in an urban environment, and kind of use it as a resource. Composting is very scientific. It's a human-managed process. Kind of want to make it an aerobic process. Part of that is kind of mixing the materials, turning windrows, adding oxygen with pitchforks, shovels. So what's coming out of your mouth is just CO2 versus methane. Because if you have methane coming out of your compost, you're essentially creating a landfill, which is what you're trying to divert.
So what happens in a landfill is typically you have a no oxygen situation. The microorganisms that consume the material that release methane into the environment and, of course, create greenhouse gases. You want methane, in your fuel tank. You don't want it in the atmosphere.
We take just a bunch of food waste and organic waste from Brooklyn and we process it. And people actually collect these food scraps in their house all week long. And once a week, they're able to drop these food scraps off at these commuter composting sites. Then they bring it over to the compost site here where we process it.
I think that for most people, the idea of keeping food scraps is just, it holds limited appeal. You would have to make it glamorous and luscious in some kind of way. And I'm sure it could be done, but we're kind of not doing it.
I live with roommates, so I feel like a lot of it comes to do with just space. And also, we already have problems with just the garbage smelling sometimes. I guess we'd be concerned about the compost getting a little stinky. And honestly, I just don't really know exactly how it works. So
I've lived in the city for over 4 years now, and I don't compost because we don't really have that option in our building. Other people on my street have compost bins, but my apartment doesn't, so we're unable to compost. Everything just goes in the trash.
In the city, automatically, it's just throwing that garbage down the recycling of the chute. It just never occurred to me, so I have no reason to compost in the city.
I think that there may be people who don't know that composting exists, but I think that it's that people don't come to the city to think about composting. People come to the city to think about the human culture, and composting isn't part of it.
It takes a culture of encouragement for those actions to become easy. If you're the only one recycling in your house, or the only one that turns the lights off or shuts the water off, it becomes very frustrating, and it's hard to think that what you're doing is worth it.
There would have to be some kind of carrot to get people to do it. And I think that it being good for the planet, it's just not enough. It's an issue of culture, but we don't celebrate it.
The goal in a site like this is to change the public's view on what food waste is. It's not trash, but it's actually a resource.
I never really realized that food scraps actually go to places like this. When I throw food out, this is not really what I first think of. I just think it's gonna go to a dump. So it's definitely kind of changed how I saw things a little bit. Being with all the guys, listening to music, just shoveling. It was more fun than I thought it was originally gonna be. I was oh, we're just composting, but it was good. We actually had a good time, bonded with each other, so it was a good experience. I think we'll definitely come back.
We are only able to do as much work on site because we had the volunteers and their strong hands. But I hope that after coming down and volunteering, they're able to take that back to their households and be able to sort of help facilitate that culture of encouragement in environmentalism.
I do think that an individual can make a difference. But what I do know is that it takes many individuals. I want to give it up to the people sifting compost. They ended up sifting about 80 cubic feet of compost that's actually ready to go out to farmers. I mean, what's the point of making compost if you can't give it to community gardeners? It's important that this site is in Red Hook because Red Hook is a food desert, which means they don't have a lot of fresh produce in their supermarkets and in their stores. So a compost site is great because it can nurture farms and gardens and places that can grow fresh produce for people who need fresh produce.
If people had access to lots of organic material, organic compost, it could have huge impact locally.
Compost is at the core of what we do. We produce vegetables for the community here, produce that isn't readily available in this community. Our customers at our farm stands are from Red Hook. I think there are many benefits to urban farming, and for one, we have the elements that we can create a circular economy. We're employing youth from the community. They're producing food in their community.
Every neighborhood could use a community composting operation. Every neighborhood has food scraps that they need to do something with, and we process them in the most environmentally friendly way possible.
The culture of solid waste management has changed, but it has not changed enough to make composting attractive to solid waste haulers. Maybe the answer is to have the compost facility in every neighborhood and have a couple of nights a week when you can drop off your compost, and every night that it's open, make it a party. Making it a civic ritual in a positive way is probably the only way to make it go.
Stop looking at the easy way of doing things and kind of do the hard work that it's going to take to not only reverse what we've done to this world, but kind of find ways to make this world a better place. You all had a hand in participating in the largest compost site in the United States that doesn't use fossil fuels. Thank you for joining our mission. Thank you for getting your hands dirty. You made the world a better place. Many thanks. And on this site, we like to take it away with one big bang. In 3, 2, 1.